Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface. Now a few weeks ago, Blizzard announced the next World of Warcraft expansion to come, and it's going to be called Legion, where the Burning Legion decide to invade Azeroth, and all hell, by the sounds of it, are going to break loose. Now when they did this announcement, they also showed off a couple of the features which they're looking to bring in as well, but they didn't give them any flesh. They were concepts. And I think there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, because of BlizzCon 2013, where they announced the world and its sun for Warlords of Draenor and then hardly delivered on anything that they announced. Number two, because I think some of this content is also in a state of flux, i.e. they have a concept and an idea about what they want to do, but they're not necessarily adverse to listening to the community feedback and potentially adapting it based on that. One feature in particular, though, has really got me excited, and I'm not even sure if Blizzard themselves quite understand the potential that they have with this piece of content, and that is order halls, class-specific hubs which are arriving in Legion. So why am I so excited for the potential alone of this feature? Well, I'm going to break it up into three simple things, and I want you to let me know in a comment section down below exactly what you think of them, and also if you have any ideas of your own about where you would like order halls to go. But first things first, you are banding together with players of your own class as opposed to faction. So it doesn't matter which order hall you are in, everybody there is like you. They are a warlock, they are a mage, a paladin, a rogue, a monk. They are there specifically because of the class that you are. And that hopefully will start to get rid of this homogenization of classes which we've unfortunately had for way too long within the World of Warcraft, and develop a sense of identity with the class that you are. And Blizzard can do this really, really well. We've seen it in action in patch 5.2 when they brought in the Green Fire questline. For a short period of time, Warlocks felt so special and so unique, having this scenario created specifically for them, which allowed them to change their orange flame into Fell Fire. Now, Blizzard have said that they are not going to bring this type of questline in for other classes. It was kind of like a one-off situation. But what they can do with the order halls is still make you re-establish what it means to actually be the class that you are. For argument's sake, paladins, you know that you use light as a resource, but do you fully understand the connection that you have with the light? Through great narrative storytelling and questing, you can therefore start to understand the reason and the connections that you have. And Blizzard also need to not fear reusing existing assets. So for argument's sake again, one of the quests could take you to the Tomb of Uther, and maybe something is underneath it. But things along those kind of lines. There's nothing wrong with using Azeroth that we know at the moment. Not every single form of content in a new expansion has to physically take place in the new content areas of that expansion. Number two, and I'm going to admit straight off the bat that this one is a little bit left field, people, but please do hear me out. One of the problems I think that order halls are going to have is, although they are class specific, you still have both factions there. And I do think it's going to operate very much like a sanctuary hub, where you can see the opposing faction running around, but you can't in any way interact with them. I want to stir up the pot, because these are meant to be class-specific areas, and therefore faction doesn't necessarily have to play a key role here. I want to bring in an existing piece of content, an existing piece of technology to shake all of that up. And I'm talking about bringing back scenarios specifically for each class. So Blizzard can tailor one for paladins, mages, rogues, hunters, chamois. You get where I'm coming from here. And when you queue up the scenario, and when you enter the scenario, depending on how many people are required, it doesn't have to be 3 or 5 or whatever. Let's just say it's a 5-person scenario for argument's sake. You are put in also with people of the opposing faction that you can interact with. So I'm talking about 3 Hordes, 2 Alliance, 4 Alliance, 1 Horde, 2 of this, 3... You know how it can just break up. You could have 5 of the same faction. It doesn't matter, but it can be an amalgamation of the 2. And the scenarios are going to be specifically designed that you have to cooperate with each other to complete the goal. And therefore, people have to be amenable to each other. And although they have the Horde versus Alliance thing looming over them, unless they band together, unless they cooperate, they are not going to complete the task. So you either make it time-based, or you make it a very specific thing that all 5 have to interact with certain objects to open up another area, and that kind of way. And then at the end of it, of course, you will be rewarded in however which way Blizzard want to reward you. Some, reputation, some rewards, some mounts, some pets, blah, blah, blah. But I think putting together 2 factions in a single scenario could be really intriguing based off the class which they are. And the third and the final thing which has got me very excited indeed is the development of champions. Now, this is Legion's version of the follower system. Now, start panic, don't get your back up immediately. No, it's going to vary very much so from the way that it was done in Warlords of Draenor. First of all, you're only going to have access to a few champions as opposed to the 60, 70, 80 odd followers which we can get our hands on in Warlords of Draenor. And secondly, they're not going to be dragged into a hole and clicked off on a Facebook mission. No, we're meant to have some proper interaction with these. So I really hope that Blizzard start to look at other MMOs and start to look at the relationships which you can have with characters. And I want them to take a good, hard look at Star Wars The Old Republic. Because one thing that Star Wars The Old Republic did absolutely fantastically was the story of how you interacted with your crew in your starship. They had personalities of their own, they had lives of their own, and they actually got you embroiled and involved in that. If Blizzard could convert that into the World of Warcraft, it would be amazing. If we had a champion who was just starting off and, they'd just elevated themselves to this rank and they'd just got the respect of their peers, but they had something dark hidden in their past and we banded together with them to find out, or there was literally a haunted mansion somewhere which would operate as a phased-based area, and we went in with our champions or a couple of these champions to clear out this haunted mansion and whatever secrets it could hold. We could also develop storylines specific to their families as well. Get really involved with the nooks and the crannies of their lives. This would be amazing if we can actually do that. So not only do we have these champions to fight alongside, not only do we have them at our disposal, but they would actually physically become part of our story as well. And that dynamic could be amazing. But before I end the video, I do have to give a word of warning here, because Order Halls also has a very dark and sinister effect as well, because we have seen from past events, Blizzard can have a tendency to get a little bit lazy, and Order Halls sadly is one of those forms of content which could easily have so much potential but then just turn out to be nothing more than a hub for us to not really do much. We turn up, we pick up a couple of quests, and then we go about our business. Or we click onto a champion and they give us a buff in another zone, and we go off to that zone to do some missions. That's exactly what I don't want to see from this place. I don't want it to be a peak of serenity in Mists of Pandaria, in Kunlai Summit. I want this to be something unique. I want to be able to log on to the game and be excited to come to my order hall to see where, next weekly storyline mission might take me, to see what interaction I'm going to have with my champions, to see what scenario could be on rotation this week to interact with members of the other faction, and also maybe storylines that allow me to learn more about being a warlock and maybe the price that I have to pay for the power which I'm given. All these are very, very exciting potentials, and if Blizzard does have their head screwed on correctly, they could make order halls an amazing place to be in. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I really hope that you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Those links are in the description down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.